Welcome to the Think Forward podcast, where we speak with futurists, innovators, and big thinkers. Come along with your host, Steve Fisher, and explore the future together.
Welcome back to Foundations in Foresight, a Think Forward series. I'm your host, Steve Fisher, and today, we're continuing our deep dive into the future's operating system, also known as the FOS, the structured framework that helps organizations embed foresight into decision-making, strategy, and daily operations. In our last episode, we introduced the future's operating system, discussing why foresight often fails to create impact and why organizations need a structured, repeatable system to ensure future insights lead to action. But how exactly does this system work? That's what today's episode is all about. We're breaking down the 6 core components of the future's operating system, showing how each one connects scanning, scenario development, strategy, and execution into a seamless foresight-to-action process. By the end of this episode, you'll understand what each component of the FOS does and why it matters, how these components work together as an adaptive system, how organizations can start implementing these components right away. This episode isn't just about theory. It's about giving you a blueprint for making foresight a working system in any organization. Let's dive in. Why a systems approach is necessary for foresight. Before we break down the 6 components, let's step back and ask, why does foresight need a systems approach? Most organizations today engage in foresight, but they don't have a structured system to apply it consistently. Think about it like this. A company might hire consultants to produce a foresight report, but once that report is delivered, what happens next? A government agency might run a scenario planning exercise, but does it influence actual policy decisions? A startup might track emerging trends, but without a process, those insights often remain gut instincts rather than strategic direction. Without a system, foresight remains disconnected from decision-making. A future's operating system ensures that foresight is continuous, not a one-time event. Insights connect to action. Decision-makers have a structured process to engage with the future. This is where the 6 components of the future's operating system come in. A strong future's operating system consists of 6 interconnected components. Each component plays a critical role in ensuring that organizations don't just react to change, they shape it. Let's go through them one by one. Component 1, scanning and signal detection. Purpose, ensuring that organizations continuously track emerging trends, disruptions, and early indicators of change. How it works, uses environmental scanning, trend monitoring, and weak signal detection. Covers multiple domains, technology, culture, economy, politics, and environment. Uses structured frameworks like STEEP, social, technological, economic, environmental, political, and horizon scanning. Example, a company tracking AI advancements sees a growing trend in AI-generated content replacing marketing jobs, an early warning sign of a disruptive shift. Why it matters. Without structured scanning, organizations are blind to early disruptions and miss opportunities for proactive strategy. Component 2, scenario development. Purpose, turning weak signals into structured, plausible futures that help organizations prepare for uncertainty. How it works. Uses spectrum layered analysis, SLA, to create layered, multi-perspective futures. Ensures that scenarios reflect multiple stakeholders and coexisting realities. Creates narrative-driven futures that allow decision-makers to inhabit different possible outcomes. Example, a workforce planning team builds 4 layered scenarios for the future of AI and jobs, helping HR leaders plan for reskilling and automation impacts. Why it matters. Without structured scenario planning, organizations default to linear thinking, assuming the future will look like the past. Component 3, strategy formulation. Purpose, ensuring that foresight insights directly inform business, policy, and innovation strategy. How it works. Uses strategic implications, mapping to connect scenarios to business and policy priorities, identifies critical uncertainties, risks, and opportunities, ensures organizations develop adaptive strategies that can pivot based on real-world changes. Example, a retail company sees the rise of direct-to-avatar fashion in virtual spaces and integrates metaverse commerce strategies into its 5-year business roadmap. Why it matters. Without a process to translate foresight into strategy, future insights often remain interesting ideas, but don't influence real decisions. Component 4, practical implementation. Purpose, embedding foresight-driven strategies into actual organizational processes, budgets, and innovation roadmaps. How it works. Aligns foresight-driven strategies with existing business units, R&D, and policy teams. Creates foresight-driven OKRs, objectives, and key results to ensure execution. Uses pilot programs and test beds to experiment with future-oriented strategies. Example: a healthcare provider anticipating a rise in telemedicine demand creates a pilot program to test AI-assisted patient diagnostics. Why it matters. Without practical implementation, foresight remains a theoretical exercise instead of driving real-world impact. Component 5, feedback loops. Purpose: creating real-time monitoring so that organizations can pivot strategies as new signals emerge. How it works. Establishes key foresight indicators, KFIs, metrics that track future trends over time. Uses strategic dashboards to monitor ongoing trend developments. Creates early warning triggers that prompt leadership to adjust course. Example: a city government tracking climate migration trends creates a housing and infrastructure task force when early indicators show increasing migration into urban areas. Why it matters. Without feedback loops, organizations miss critical shifts and fail to adapt in time. Component 6, continuous learning and organizational culture. Purpose: ensuring that foresight isn't just a tool, it becomes part of the organization's culture. How it works. Establishes ongoing foresight training for leadership and employees. Encourages future-focused decision-making across all teams. Creates internal foresight champions who drive futures work inside organizations. Example: a Fortune 500 company implements a quarterly future readiness review where leadership evaluates strategic plans against current foresight data. Without a culture of foresight, organizations struggle to sustain future readiness over time. Some final thoughts and a challenge for listeners. Now that you've learned the 6 components of the Futures operating system, the next step is implementation. In our next episode, we'll explore how to implement and scale a Futures operating system trademark, ensuring that foresight becomes a living, adaptable system inside organizations. Until then, keep scanning, strategizing, and as always, think forward.
Thanks for listening to the Think Forward podcast. You can find us on all the major podcast platforms and at www.thinkforwardshow.com, as well as on YouTube under Think Forward Show. See you next time.